Hi everyone,
Hi
welcome to
guys.
Above the Noise, episode 4. Is
It's
it?
four.
Yes,
Yeah.
episode 4.
Hi
And
guys.
yeah, hi. You're having our voices today. You're going to be hearing our voices today. And I think actually we should start with like some music, we should include some music in the beginning.
Intro.
Yes, intro music, exactly. The step by step, we'll get the hang of it.
Okay.
Yes. So, welcome everybody. Today we are going to be talking about something a little bit more, I would say, generic, to kind of go
Mhm.
over some of the things that we've been seeing unfold over the last couple of years, actually. And more specifically, we will be focusing and we'll be talking about, first of all, the politically homeless. I feel like there's so many people, and I
Mhm.
consider myself amongst those people that are more identifying politically with the politically homeless, so to speak, rather than with certain right wing or left wing or even center ideology. And
Mhm.
then we're going to be talking about the political divide. Why do we seem so extreme? Why do things, and specifically politics, seem so extreme these days? So we're so happy that you joined us. If you are watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening to this on YouTube, please subscribe and like and comment. Yes, words I never thought I would say, but we are trying to reach 1,000 subscribers,
Yeah.
and more. But this is our first goal. So if you're enjoying this, please, yeah, subscribe and like and comment. And I'd be
Yeah.
curious to hear as well your thoughts about these topics and if you've experienced this yourself.
Yeah. Actually, you can go with opposite point of view, and it will be very interesting for us to read, to hear your voices, your point of view, and yeah,
Yeah,
just
and as we're gonna discuss today, actually, having an opposing point of view is actually not a bad thing, and it doesn't make you a bad person, or it shouldn't be, I think, something that stops friendships or relationships from forming, and it's increasingly become that. So yeah, if you believe in some things, and you like to share, please let us know.
Mhm.
Perfect. So let's get started. I would like to start by talking about the political divide. More specifically, why does it look like we are so extreme nowadays? And I think this is very country specific, maybe, or region
Yeah. Mhm.
specific, because Nervin, you had a good point before we started recording, where you said, well, that's very different from the US to Europe. And I
Mhm.
kind
Mhm.
of tend to agree. Yes, it is different, although we are also starting to see this happening in Europe a lot more. But more specifically, I would say that in the States, the weird thing is in about the United States is that whether they want it or not, in a weird way, they are kind of the cultural guide of the world in a way, like the cultural center. So we all
Mhm.
watch Hollywood, right? We all consume the news. We all go on these apps that are like American apps, like Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. Okay, TikTok is Chinese. And all of these things. And I feel like in a weird way, what happens there culturally kind of catches up with us
Mhm.
later on
Mhm.
in Europe, specifically in 10, 5, 10. Sometimes it takes longer, 15 years, but we kind of see it as well. But the trend that is very, very apparent and obvious, of course, in the United States is the political divide. How some people seem to be moving further and further apart and they do not agree on many things. More specifically, people, what I've noticed actually, from my point of view, so many people are moving further and further to the left in a very scary way to me. I think I know you and I
Extreme
agree
way.
on
Yeah. Yeah.
this extreme way where they are starting to praise like communism and socialism and saying weird things like this was good, or the Soviet Union was a good place, whatever, just
Mhm.
absurdities, and saying these things with a straight face. And I just feel like that's so strange to hear First of all, because we're talking about the United States, which is obviously known for, if there's one thing that defines that country, that's capitalism. And on the other hand, you're also seeing, I feel like, as a reaction to that, so many more people moving then further and further to more to the right. And I would say that the term far right or extreme right is being abused many times to mean anything that you kind of don't really like. But in some cases, you see people voicing opinions that are, they wouldn't feel comfortable saying 5 or 10 years ago, where, it's this narrative of like kind of nationalism is really taking root. And I think nationalism in and of itself is not bad. It's like, yes, you care for your own country and you want to make sure it prospers and it's good, and it's normal, but it taken to the extreme, it's always dangerous, because it means that you're competing with many other countries to be the best, right? And so I think if you take it to the extreme, it can get very violent. So there's like a growing division between these two groups, and that's
Hmm.
very much a US centric.
Yeah,
But you said
exactly.
something which is like in Europe, that's not really the case.
Yeah, yeah. The fact that in state there are only two parties change things because you are with them or against them. In Europe, things are different. People feel uh, okay. In my opinion, here in Europe, people feel strong
Mhm.
apathy. Hmm.
Yeah, but yeah,
Because no matter what you decide, everything seems to be going in the one direction.
that's
Uh,
so true. I think the bureaucracy eats up
mhm.
all kind of movement for like novelty or something to do, like something different. You just kind of like things are the way they are and they're never
Yeah.
gonna change.
Mm. Yeah, it's huge different in Europe and in States, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Again, in States, they are, for example, ultra liberalism. It's
Mhm.
something different. In Europe, is different. Yeah, and we have to talk first about Europe or about States. What do you think?
Why don't you explain to the few maybe people that will be watching this, what do you mean by how are things different in Europe? What happens in Europe?
Because we have a lot of parties. It's not the dual system. Um, for example, even in our governments right now, there are more than 8 parties, and
Mhm.
they have different ideas, and yet
Yeah.
they can be right or yeah, they can be right, but they can be also extreme right. And it's a specter of different rights and different lefts actually.
That's
It's
true.
Yeah, and you can be right here in Bulgaria, and you can be extreme right, and both of the groups they don't like each other, and it's different in states. People like there is completely different because it's only two options. Yeah, this is my meaning of different. In Europe, we have a lot of
That's
parties.
true. It tends to, because there's so many, as you said, like parties. Like you have, the people that are the more socialists, and then you have people that are on the center left and center, like actual
Like
center.
center,
Yeah,
center
green.
left, left, and extreme left. Can you imagine?
Yeah, I mean, extreme left. Maybe in some countries in Bulgaria, I don't think we do, because it's the left is not so strong, because we
Yeah,
tend to not
in
like
Bulgaria,
them because of communism.
but we have extreme rights in Bulgaria.
Yeah, we do, but it's a new development. I feel like the extreme right in
Extreme, yeah.
Bulgaria. But basically, I think that's true for every European country, to be honest. The things tend to converge in the middle. So it's like kind of things are drawn more to the center, because there's so many parties, and exactly like the extremes are kind of left on both sides, and then the majority tends to converge in the middle. And most of the countries are parliamentary democracies, which means they have to
For
create
the yeah, yeah.
parliaments and they need majority. So you kind of do coalitions. So it's a very different, yes, political system. So I would agree that we don't really feel it so much in Europe, but
And
still,
the
it's it's
decisions
it's
are
it's
collective.
coming in. It's
Mhm.
it's creeping in a little bit.
Yeah. And yeah, and in Europe, the decisions are collective. Like
Mm,
sometimes, even if you are not agree with the idea of the different party, you still have to vote together. It's completely different.
yeah. But do you think, like you said, apathy, and I completely agree. Do you think that makes us feel like it, for me, it makes me feel like nothing ever changes. Like everything's the same. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's actually such of course, like you don't want huge shake, like we don't want to have a revolution. No more French Revolution for us. Thank you. I think I mean we never had it, but like I don't think anybody wants an actual revolution. But on the that's the good thing, it's like it's more stable, but on the other side it's nothing really changes, there's no real difference, nobody's thinking differently, everything just converges in the middle. There's like some small differences of course, but at the end of the day, as you said, like things move in the same direction no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
is
Exactly.
is that like a good or bad?
Actually, maybe it's a good thing, you know.
Mm. Yeah, it could be because it's more calm, you see, it's like it's more kind of chill and relaxed.
Not only because of this, but I think here in Europe, we all agree that the future has to be in this shape, you know. And
Mm.
yeah, little differences, but not the huge ones. And I think that this is something good. For example, every 4 years in states, you don't know what's gonna be like, and
Yeah.
maybe it's a little
And
bit
you know what's
stressful,
so
and you
interesting
go.
to me?
Mhm.
Like, especially about the, yeah, the elections in the States, it's like how it's so strange that for what, like in 4 years things can change so drastically.
Exactly.
Because it's like, I mean, the people that vote, it's they don't change that much. Yes, some people die, obviously, some people grow up to be 18 and have the right to vote. So of course the demographic changes a little bit, but not drastically. So how is it that like constantly there's changing in presidents and the House and the Senate? Like, I mean, of course, I'm not saying people don't change their minds, but probably they don't change their minds that much.
hmm
So it's actually very interesting how that happens.
For me, in states, people become very extreme because they
Mm,
defend their ideology, and the other point of view is only one. And when you have only two point of views, you can be extreme. And I don't know. I'm not sure if this is a good thing or not. Actually, really, I'm not sure about that.
Well, I don't know if it's, I mean, maybe I would say it depends because so I would say actually for me that this whole division that I'm noticing, it is, yeah, you're right. It starts from the fact that there's only two, as you said, parties in this case, and very different opinions have to coexist under the same umbrella. I mean, very, very different. And for example, as you said, in Europe, like we have different parties, so you don't have to, if you're like someone that's center left or center, you don't have to share the same political umbrella as someone who is like identifying as a communist, for example. You don't have to because there's a separate party for that.
hmm
And I think this kind of leads into the second question of the day, which is the not the political divide, but the political homelessness. So I think if you're looking at, for example, let's say the Democratic Party, yes, in the states, you are noticing that there's like an extreme minority, which like the types of people that praise communism, for example, socialism, whatever they like, the Soviet Union, like I don't even know how they got that idea. Honestly, they should all come and live in Eastern Europe for a month, and I hope they change their minds.
Latest version of ultraliberalism has really gone too far, in my opinion.
Yes, but imagine those people then have to coexist in a way with people that are just like liberal, like they're center. They're not
Mm-hmm.
even left, they're just on the center. And, you know, as someone that still considers herself a classical liberal, not someone that's like, oh my God, like the patriarchy is bad and capitalism is bad and all
Mm-hmm.
of like all of these things are bad, whatever. I'm just like, no, like liberalism, you know, the good old fashioned freedom of speech and individualism and economic freedom and free markets, like these things, these people had to coexist with this crazy, like far left group. And I
Actually, if
think
you think about it, political correctness, cancellation of people, and historical figures for nothing, it's actually almost nothing to do with the liberalism in the classic form. Actually,
not
absolutely
at
not.
all. And this is something that I really like. I actually get very frustrated because nowadays, again, because of the cultural influence of America, liberalism is being associated with this like crazy, yes, as you said, cancellation and rewriting of history, when in reality, it has nothing to do with it. And when you say it's like, oh, liberal, you kind of start thinking about these people that want to cancel everybody that they don't like, and they want to like, yes, stifle freedom of speech, and they want to bring about the socialist utopia, when in reality that's really not liberalism. And that's the main problem, I think, why people are so politically homeless, is because what they identified with for so long now has reshaped itself. Like the name is still there, but what people associate it with is already, it's completely gone.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, and this is something dangerous actually.
It is super dangerous because it's not like this changing of terms, of words, of meanings. You know,
Hmm.
you and I think, have a good idea of classical liberalism. We know what it means, but I think many people kind of associate now liberalism with this kinds of things. It's like you think of people that want to have a more socialist government, for example. You think of people that I don't know, think Karl Marx was right. Oh my God, this is.
Yeah, yeah.
Another like
Topic,
complete
another
episode,
topic. Yeah,
another
yeah.
can of worms we have to open eventually, and do an episode on communism, because I will have a lot to talk about. But this is the normal association with liberalism and now, and that's just not true. That's not the actual meaning and historic, yes, just meaning of liberalism, what it used to be. And so many people, again, including myself, I was kind of like starting to get so disappointed, not just with, like, of course, why would I be disappointed with the Democratic Party in America? I don't even live there. But I think, again, because we're adopting that cultural influence from the United States, so
Hmm.
many European parties are kind of parroting that as well. So you kind of like start thinking, oh, liberalism, oh, it means these things, when in reality, it means that doesn't mean that at all. It's completely different.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing, I think, as a reaction to that, now, okay, people are going completely crazy. They associate liberalism with socialism. They want to have, I don't know, they want to abolish billionaires. They want to eat the rich, whatever it is that they want to do. I don't even know at this point. And as a reaction to that, I think you have people that are kind of going also to the right a lot as well. So it's like a
Mm.
complete reaction.
Yeah,
to-
extremes leads to extremes. Like,
Exactly. And the funny thing is, I feel like they're the same, the different sides of the same coin at the end of the
exactly,
day,
absolutely.
because they both, I think, don't have a regard for freedom, individual freedom, liberties. They're both kind of like, oh, if you disagree with me, you're evil, which is another thing that I find to be very problematic in our society nowadays. How
Hmm.
much political affiliation or views have become this badge of honor for people, like how much they tie their morality to what kind of political party they support or who they vote for, which it never used to be like this. Like, you, if you're a thinking human being with a brain, you will probably change your mind in your lifetime, and you probably should change your mind in your lifetime. So
Hmm.
to associate your morality, like, are you a good person or are you a bad person, based on what kind of political positions you support, I think it's so ridiculous, it's so stupid, and it's so dangerous. Because what happens now, if you disagree with me on something, Nermin, how dare you? It's not just because you disagree with me, it actually means you're a bad person. And what does that make me? I'm the good person. I'm the saint here. I have the moral high ground. I have the moral authority. And you are the person that is evil and bad because you hold a different opinion than mine.
But don't you think that this motivates people to vote? Like
As
when
well.
there is
Yeah,
an
because
emotion, you are like, ah, I will show you I am the.
yes, absolutely. It's not even about like if voting was just about, and I think that's the reason why politics is actually so interesting to so many people. But if it was just about policy, this is kind of very boring, right? But you're
Hmm.
right. It is also for voting. You kind of get people riled up. You make them. Yeah, you kind of like make them feel something. You
Exactly.
incite some emotion in them, and they kind of they also vote and they're on your side, which kind of like there's another point that I wanted to make about this topic specifically. It's the tribalism. It's
Hmm.
like we are our tribe, our political party or whatever, our political side, it's our tribe, and we are under attack, kind of. So
Wow.
you have to go and defend us,
Yeah,
right? Like that's also the emotion, is like you're defending your people.
exactly. Uh, they play with people's emotions, and this is a dangerous thing. And but this is the only thing that motivates people strongly. When when you act with your emotions, your opinion is super strong because
Yeah.
you're so sure.
Which doesn't, it's not a very good thing about human beings, actually. It doesn't make us look good because what does it mean? We're just like emotional animals, so you don't go
We are
vote.
actually. Come on.
But you don't go to vote to make your life better. You go to vote because you feel something. You're like, oh my god, I have to show this person who's the boss. Like, whatever.
This is a
I'm the better person here.
but this is a manipulation. We use it all the time, actually, even in our daily lives. We are
That's
all the
true.
time using these little tricks and manipulations. Mm. I think it's normal, but again, people have to read more, to watch more, and yeah,
Think for
to
themselves. I feel like
exactly.
that's the big thing. Just think for
Exactly.
yourself. But you know what's interesting again around this topic of like the division and extremes. I
Hmm.
feel like we really don't I mean in our times, like we kind of don't have, many people don't have strong communities anymore.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah, you're right.
so it's kind of like, imagine like before, you were kind of, you were not you were the sum sort of like of your communities. You belonged to, obviously you belonged to a family, but you belonged to a bigger, like extended family. You belonged to a village, maybe you belonged to a neighborhood. You used to know the
Wow,
people in your neighborhood.
this is a very
You
interesting thought. Actually, yeah, you are very right.
Yeah, because we had these like, I mean, again, for our case in Bulgaria, I think we still do keep that. We have that, but in many countries, especially in the West and bigger cities, um, it's kind of hard for people to find communities that where they belong. Many people don't live in their hometowns anymore. Um, Bigger extended families are is not a really important factor in their lives.
Yeah.
Some people don't even keep in touch with their parents. I mean, like
Hmm.
how these things
Exactly.
work, right? So it's like, what do they have left where they have a sense of belonging? It's
Exactly.
it's my political, it's my party, it's my people. Like, oh, I'm good because I belong to these people that vote the
And
same
they
way, the way
support
I
me,
do.
and we think the same.
Exactly, and we
Yeah,
think
and
the
I
same
belong to
way.
them. They belong to me. Yeah, this is strong. Wow, it's a very good point of view.
Yeah.
I
I mean, it's a sad one as well because it just like we kind of destroyed communities like in the last 50, 60 years, whatever. It doesn't have to be this way, but in many cases it is.
Mhm.
And so many people don't have the need to interact with someone that they disagree with on politics because, well, why should I? Because you're evil anyways, morally you're corrupted, and these are my people, so you're from the other tribe now.
Do you notice how it's not just politics only, but it's not a politic things. It's It's a human nature. It's
It is human nature. It is human nature as well, but I think that, again, like where it used to apply has changed. Before, it was human nature. Of course, we used to live in tribes. So, literal tribes. Like, this is my tribe, and that's your tribe, and then that's it. So, I think with time, it evolved. So, like, it used to be this is my, I don't know, family, and then this was my village, and this is my neighborhood. So, like, that's human nature. But when you destroy all of this sense of belonging, what are at this point, like, the manifestation of that is this is my political party.
but okay. And how do you explain the apathy in Europe then?
I think maybe we. I don't think there's so much apathy. Well, actually, you would be surprised. I think that many people, again, I think in Western Europe at least, do associate political affiliation with morality. There is a little bit of an association going on. Again, it's a recent thing. Maybe it's not as prevalent as it is in the States, but because we tend to take so many things culturally from there. It is slowly starting to change. Um, but again, not so fast, not happening so much in Eastern Europe because we have our own way of conducting things. But I think it is happening a little bit like this whole thing with like, oh, if you vote for this party, then you're a bad person, or if you disagree with me, you're a bad person. It's happening a little bit, but not to the extent that you see in the States, yes. Maybe because we really like there's still a little bit of that remaining community feeling, a little bit.
Can be, or maybe here thing is more personal because here there are many parties and actually no one will ever understand about your vote. In America, if you are not with the one, you are with the
You're with
another
the
one.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true actually. Yeah, here you could vote. I mean, like, yeah, when we vote in Bulgaria, they give you this huge list of like 31 parties, and only eventually 6 or 7 get into the parliament. But yeah, you're right, there's a lot of options.
Mm-hmm.
Could be, yeah, because it's more individual to you. Um, I don't know. Actually, I don't know what's causing that. But and again, I agree. It's not like you kind of see that happening here so much, but it's beginning. I feel like I'm seeing the start of it, and it's kind of really worrying me because what does it mean then if you are someone that just disagrees with me, and I automatically assume in my mind, oh, you're an evil person by nature. You're evil because you don't agree with X, Y, Z. That's very dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, because it seems we're in Europe like we slept and give too much power to ultra liberalism, and we actually didn't understand what exactly going on. And right now, I feel the opposite is rising. You can see what happened in Germany, for example. The second party.
Yeah, again, like we're getting inspired, quote unquote, inspired by what we're seeing overseas. Yes, it is definitely happening slowly. You kind of see
Here,
that.
everything is slowly. I like this.
Yes, it's like, take your time. It is happening slowly. But actually, I think we should do probably a separate episode on this and the
Again.
German elections and everything because that's very interesting. But I would say that, yeah, it's happening, but it's kind of coming in slowly.
Yeah.
No. And what would you say? I have some ideas, but how do you think it's best to move forward? Like, what would be the best way to move forward, actually? From this whole like you're evil, that you disagree with me, or especially for people that don't feel like they have a political home at this point, what would be the best way to move forward?
What I say, people should read more, ask questions more. They have to
Hmm.
be more active. It's like in the end, the people who are in our government are our choice, and we can control them by using our like using our powers. Like we have to act more, talk with each other more,
I
Uh,
agree. And this is something, and we didn't touch on this, but I think it also plays such an important role, is just social media in general. Like most people nowadays, they get their impression or of whatever that means, like whatever that political party stands for, or what this person it like stands for on social media, not directly from people themselves. So I feel like it's so straightforward, but it's so lost. Is just talk to real people more. Don't just
mhm,
rely on interacting with people online and trying to understand, like, because I think online is a caricature. It's not real. It's just like
mhm,
it's fake. It's really fake, so, and it's in intention is to enrage you, as you said. It's trying to make you feel something emotionally.
yeah.
And if you talk to real people, like actually talk to them, you will understand that people are not as evil as you think they are, just because they might think slightly differently than you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, we need to talk more with each other and
Hmm.
try to see the different way of thinking. And but in general, we need to participate much more in the decisions, like in the decision in our government. Actually,
Yeah.
we have to participate. um, I don't think that people realize the real power. Actually, the power is in our hands. Like Trump can decide something, but you can stop him. It's the same in Europe. They are just are
Yeah, but again, as you said, like people have so much apathy that I don't think they feel like that anymore. And a big reason is they don't even care. Like you and I are kind of like unicorns. We do care so much about this, these topics, like what's going on around the world. We're curious. We want to understand. But many people, and it's fine for them, obviously. But many people are just like, oh, I want to just go for to work and get my paycheck and live a comfortable life, and that's fine. But I think eventually it's something that really affects us all.
but the truth is we actually we choose how to who like who wanna be our politicians. We choose them, and
That's
they are
true.
actually our employees if you think about it,
They are, but they don't act like that.
because we don't act like bosses, it's they are
That's true.
really our employees, and actually um they just have to continue with our how can I say, with our
With our agenda, with what we want to do.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, no, that I completely agree, but they don't act like that, and I don't think we hold them accountable for that. We don't actually ask for that, We just kind of like, oh, whatever, like whatever happens, like let it happen.
We
Which
do
is
not understand
why.
our power,
Yes,
little
but
bit.
which is why I have over the last couple of years been so much in favor of just limited government. Like in general, government shouldn't be so much controlling your life, anyways. It shouldn't be
Exactly.
something that's like such a huge focus, something that can make such huge decisions for you. Like we should limit as much as possible. Because no, because at the end of the day, they don't know anything about my life. I know my life better. Like, why should they be the ones that are deciding and you know some random facts and some factors? So I think that's like limited government is definitely the way, which is something that warrants
Your right
another
heart is
episode.
speaking.
Yes, exactly. But it's liberal as well a little bit, but yeah, this in this and this side is like my right leaning heart is speaking, but it's true. I like I agree with myself, obviously.
Wow.
Obviously.
I agree with myself. Love it. I will use it in my daily life.
I'm an authority figure in my own eyes, so
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but no,
What else?
to get back to the point, I do
Yeah.
agree we should speak more to each other and kind of try to again build communities and really understand people for who they are as people, rather than just reducing them to their political affiliation, because that's not your moral compass. That's not what makes a person good or bad, not even a little bit. And I think for me, like, there's a few different things that we are talking about in this episode: the political homelessness, like liberalism, and how it lost its power, so to speak, but the political divide as well. But the most important thing for me as a takeaway, or as something that if people remember one thing, it's this, like, they're not nobody's just point like evil because they don't agree with you. Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
just not true.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. What can I add? Not sure. I'm not sure.
It's perfect. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think maybe we can go and talk a little bit more about this whole, like, idea of liberalism and how it lost its grip,
Yeah.
because I feel like that's something that we touched upon in the beginning, but not so much. And this is something that you and I both experienced very strongly over the last few years, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Maybe a little bit of a history. Do you want to, like, give people a background on the way that on some of the things that you were thinking when you were younger and now are not applicable anymore?
Actually, we talk about it in our first episode.
It's in Bulgarian.
I also, yeah, yeah. Like in the big, first of all, people have to understand our life story. We are from
Oh my God.
Bulgaria, and this is
1 hour later. No, I'm just kidding. Go on.
no, like here in Bulgaria, we have. Okay, I don't want to be so into this topic with Bulgaria. I would just say that we live in a different
Reality.
reality. Exactly, this is the
Yeah.
perfect word. Reality. And when I was younger, uh,
2 hours
when I
later.
okay, come on.
Okay, continue. When you
When
were
I was younger, I
5
was
and cute
think.
and chubby.
When I was younger, I was thinking about the idea of be free, like to choose and to say what I want, to read what I want, and I don't know, people from states, they I don't know, for sure they will never understand us because this is a complete different life story and life experiences that we has and they had. Uh, um, and when I start from there, for me, the liberalism was
The way forward.
yeah, and the liberalism was free of to be free. Actually, the main word is to be free, and it's not the same right now. It's not the same for sure because how can I say, ultra liberalism changed things
I
like
don't even want to call it ultraliberalism, by the way. I know you're
why,
you're using this term because I don't think it's liberal. I don't think
but
in its essence it is. It pretends to be. It uses that its term. It's like it's under that umbrella. But to me, and I think you and I both agree with that. That's like very, very, very close to actually far left kind of socialist, communist kind of thinking. That's not liberalism.
yeah, but all start with liberalism. They try to
They
they
try
start with
to, yeah, they try
yeah,
to take it for themselves. Yeah.
yeah, and like they try to be very kind. Like you have to be super kind with like we always talk about political correctness, and this is such a hypocritic way of thinking, they go so extreme that before 2 years ago I was like, oh my god, I don't like this man, for example, and I was feeling fear inside me that maybe I am a racist or maybe I am a homophobe, and I was like, why I don't like him, it's not okay, I can, why I am like that and stuff. It was super extreme, and yeah, I'm talking in very human way, like in daily way, not in the political way, but you can continue with the political way, how you feel it.
Yeah, I think, but they're kind of linked though, because it's like the political message kind of is going into your subconscious and you start adopting it in your day-to-day life, right?
Mm,
Um, but
yeah,
yeah,
but in political way, things were different. I don't know. I am not sure that people feel it, because they all the time talk about peace, about how we have to be kind with each other, how we have to support each other, how government has to support us, and stuff. I think in the political way it's different, but in the daily life you feel it different.
yeah, you start to self-censor yourself more, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You try to walk a certain line of like just being this perfect, oh, I don't want to offend anybody, I don't want to say
Yeah.
anything wrong. And I kind of agree. I think you and I, again, we have a similar vision when it comes to this, where we kind of growing up, we're thinking, okay, that's like liberalism. Yes, that's the way forward. That's the thing. That's the right mix of freedom and let's say limitation, because you need some limits. You need a government, obviously. You need a state. You need rules and regulations to keep
Right.
things in
Something
place.
completely different. Yeah.
Exactly. And then you also need to have like from that stability, from that like ground, stable ground, you can have obviously like your freedoms. So like that's the liberalism, right? Like your freedom of speech, freedom of thought, being able to express yourself, being able to start businesses, economic freedom, own money, own businesses. Like there's nothing evil about wanting to be financially successful. Again, this is like a
Mm-hmm.
very new concept that all of a sudden we have to hate on all the rich people. Like I don't think that's true. So I think that was like the good mix of balancing this freedom with your limitations, so to say, or responsibility. And what that turned from, it was like this in when we were growing up from the early 2000s to what it has become now. As you said, it's not something that gives you freedom, and the opposite, it's very limiting. But again, I don't think that's the true essence of liberalism. I think some people just came in, hijacked this term, and started using it for their own agenda, which has nothing to do with maximizing freedom for people. It's quite the opposite. It wants to stifle people, it wants to put them down, and that's it. Just don't express your viewpoints if they're gonna cause harm to someone, or if they're gonna cause not harm, but like make people uncomfortable in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. The what we are trying to say is that you have your freedom. That
Mm-hmm.
is the idea of liberalism. But
Yeah.
the recent years, they take this away from us. Freedom to speak. It's change, and actually, we stop to be ourselves. Like, because all the time you are trying to be extra nice, to be
I mean, there's
correct.
nothing wrong with being extra nice in general, but I feel like, yeah, I get what you mean. Like, yes, correct, and like making sure that you're always second guessing yourself in a way, or like, yeah, just kind of measuring every word you're saying.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Uh, this is not freedom for sure. If I am thinking all the time that this is not okay, this is not a freedom.
yeah, and it's so
Sometimes I can be in the opposite side of the things, and sometimes I can be rude, but this is me.
yeah.
This is me.
And it's so sad that this happened, by the way, because I feel like, it's not a bad, like, liberal values are not a bad thing in general. Obviously, like I think
Yeah.
they're so positive. They've given so many people freedom and opportunities, and it's so sad that they kind of, I would say, they kind of let themselves be hijacked a little bit by this other movement
How
that's
this happen actually?
anti-freedom.
How this
You know,
happen?
I have a theory.
Oh,
I
good.
have a
Okay.
theory I'm going to share. So my theory is that, generally speaking, there's this like notion that you should be, as you said, like nice, and of course, like, yes, be nice, like don't be mean to people just to be mean to people, but like there's this understanding that you should be tolerant, obviously, of people with different views, but at some point you realize, like, if that tol if the other view if the views of people are they they want to silence you in a way, or they want to make it so that you are unable to voice your own opinions, those are not necessarily views that you should be tolerant of. And I think the most people that identified with liberalism at some point, they were just like too liberal for their own good because they kind of let themselves be like guilt and shamed into accepting things that at the end of the day did not align with their point of view.
Mm, makes sense.
I think that's my theory, but
But
it's
do
a
you think it
process.
was
It's a process.
planned or it happened naturally?
That's an interesting question. I think it was actually, I don't know because I'm seeing so many things that make me believe that it could have been planned. Like, this was like the wheels are put in motion. Um, because I don't know if you know, but there's this guy who's like a KGB defector. I
Mm,
forgot his name. And he was talking about how like the Soviet Union had this plan to morally corrupt basically the West, so to speak. And the idea was that they would plan this and kind of destabilize the nations and the countries through um, kind of making people lose faith in their institutions. I don't remember the name of the guy, I have to look it up.
mm,
But if it was planned, I'm pretty sure it was planned by the Soviet Union.
yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know. Like, it's not that I've seen something or researched it, but it could just be like a natural progression. Because here's the thing as well, right? With liberalism,
Mm-hmm.
specifically in the West, while the Cold War was going on, they had like the far left fraction that was always maybe existing within the liberal, quote unquote, liberal circles, wasn't given so much airtime. Like they were not really listened. People didn't listen to them, and on the contrary, they were actually persecuted as well. Like in the States, for example, and in other parts of Western Europe, because they had a common enemy, which was the Soviet Union, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm,
Which was like this is the fight between our values and their values. But I think after the collapse of the Soviet Union, that was like a free for all. Like there was a free reign for all these people that were always very leftist in a way in their views. And now all of a sudden, they could breathe, they could like voice their opinions, and they kind of also, I think, hijacked again liberalism to advance their own viewpoints.
mm-hmm.
So I think actually it has more to do with the collapse of the Soviet Union and how that kind of removed all the barriers in front of people that normally identified with far left thinking.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense actually.
Yeah, because if you have an enemy that you're fighting, you cannot side with the enemy ideologically. But once
Mm-hmm.
the enemy is gone, what stops you from saying, actually, they were not so bad? Actually, I agree with them.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, I agree with you again.
Obviously, I agree with myself too.
uh,
Yeah, we should actually get someone who doesn't agree with us, like someone who disagrees with us, like someone that's very, very, very on the far left or very, very, very on the far
yeah,
right to
it's
talk to
so
them. That would be
difficult.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah, because it's so difficult to talk to you when I am agree with you all the time. It's like I
Yeah.
try to.
Come
Yeah,
on, let me see. Emotional engagement, right? You want emotional engagement.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, w- yeah.
Yeah. But no, I think look, overall it's so sad what happened, and I
Mm-hmm.
think I still haven't lost faith though, but you never know how things are gonna go. But I think liberalism can and should be able to take itself back from the grip of these people that really, really, really are not liberal in their way of thinking.
Yeah, I think that
And
things will fall out naturally, for sure.
no, but I think it's like until you realize you have a problem, you cannot do anything. And I don't think liberals have actually realized they have a problem yet. And that's the
I'm not sure
annoying.
about
I
that.
mean, the ones that realize it and they talk about it, they're actually not. they kind of, this is the political homelessness, right? They can't even identify as liberal anymore because first of all they're being like intellectually like kicked out, but also they are not like welcome in liberal circles anymore. So until you realize that you have a problem, you cannot fight it.
I think they understand, but they can admire it. Like they can they understand what's going on because you can see the you can see what's going on. They are not stupid for sure, but
Can they see? Do they understand? Because
I
like,
think
do
so.
they see so how many people have lost faith in liberalism because of this, what's been going on?
I think that they understand for sure.
I hope so. Because if you look at now the post-election analysis, obviously in especially in the States as well, so many people are asking themselves like, what's the path forward for the Democratic Party? And there's so many that are thinking like, oh, we were not progressive enough, so we have to be more progressive.
But
And
I think that they need new leader. You know,
of course, yes, but
with
who's that person gonna be? Is that person
uh,
going to be someone that's even more progressive, more on the left, more pro like social policies? Because I don't think that's the path. I think they're gonna lose even more liberals if they do that. But there's genuinely people that believe that this is the right path forward.
mm, I'm not sure.
I don't think
Uh,
so. I don't
but
think so, but
they need someone who is in the middle and someone who is not ashamed of the truth.
yeah, I also agree. Basically, they need more parties. I think that's the consensus.
um, I don't think so. Mm,
No?
no, uh, they have a very good structure, uh, two parties
Mm,
and the way of how they decide, but they have to change the way of thinking and they have to talk about the truth more, both of the parties.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Don't be afraid to disagree, basically,
mhm,
ideologically, and which is what we talked about. And I think maybe we can wrap this episode up nicely like this. It's like, talk to people that disagree with you. In general, talk to people and don't assume they're bad or evil because they have different opinions. And build your community not around people that agree with you politically, because that's just so boring. Like, there's so much to a person, so much more than their
mhm,
political affiliation. But try to meet people where they are, right? And just try to understand who they are on a personal level, I think.
mhm. Uh, I think in state they don't like to speak the truth, and that is the problem, in my
Political
opinion. That
correctness,
yeah, that
yes.
is the huge problem.
Yes, the political
Uh,
correctness.
and when they start to talk about the truth, things will be changed fastly.
Yes, let's see. I hope so. All right. I think that's it for today. Stay tuned because we have so many more interesting things coming up. And we're also going to talk more about current events because I was just reading some news today. And honestly, I've been thinking about that as well a lot. So we'll talk more about it. And thank you so much for
Actually,
listening.
you know what? I think we have to talk every night to make new episode
Yes,
every night
every
because
night
all the
for
time,
current things, what are happening.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, tomorrow we talk about Turkey.
Okay, we can do that, but every night, really, because so many things is happening, and how can I say, my energy is getting in different points and different news, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, I'm thinking
There's
about
so
Turkey right
much.
now, for
Same,
example.
same. I was thinking about that too. I mean, not while we were speaking, but before we started, I was thinking about that too, actually. But yeah, I mean, at least Wednesdays and Sundays, new
Uh,
episodes coming.
yeah,
And please make sure to subscribe.
yeah. Actually, I read about Israel too. I want to talk about this topic
Oh,
too.
that's gonna be like 100 episodes at least.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we love you,
Thank you so
and
much, and we'll talk to you soon.
bye bye.
Bye.